Something's off with Alex DeWitt. Robert Pattinson set to play Chris Hansen, the great Chris Hansen, in a To Catch a Predator biopic. It's called like Prime Time or something like that. I should have this up. I don't. I'm never prepared for any of this. What do you want from me? Um, no, but he's doing this To Catch a Predator biopic, and they put out the full trailer about a week ago. I think it was on my birthday. It was a great birthday gift. Great birthday gift. And the trailer looks cool. It looks like a Nightcrawler thing where it's like a guy who starts out like a journalist who starts out trying to do something and trying to get that footage, trying to get that, and then it starts out cool, and then it like spirals into something that's out of his control. I think that's kind of what they're going for with it. It looks interesting. But Robert Pattinson as Chris Hansen, not on my 2026 bingo card. And I say that ironically because I hate when people say that. I hate that wasn't on my 2024 bingo card because it's always like a 21-year-old who's saying it. And 21-year-old, you're not playing bingo. You're not playing bingo. You guys don't know the alphabet. How are you playing bingo? You don't know how to count. You guys aren't spelling your names. Bingo is for if you're under 70 years old, and you're playing bingo, that's a red flag. I know people in their 30s and 40s who are playing bingo. They go out to bingo nights and they're out of their fucking minds. I'm like, whose body are you disposing of? You're trying to have an alibi. Bingo is for people like my grandparents, right? Bingo who went to bingo every New Year's Eve because they were older, they were in their 80s, and that's what they had to do. And they would spend New Year's Eve playing bingo with Agnes and Doris and Mabel and a bunch of the other women, okay, who have their opinions on some of the people coming over, right? But they would sit there and they would, be 22. And then my grandmother would go, oh my God, bingo. And then Agnes would like get angry. She was on dialysis. She would stop breathing because she was so annoyed my grandmother was winning. Agnes was just, she was delusional. She was like, my son Harry never came home from the war. Her son's name was Alan. Not good. Yeah. No, these millennials, you're not playing bingo unless it's like part of online gambling. Okay. Unless you can gamble your life savings away and your college tuition and, you can starve on the street. You're not playing bingo. They should do a bingo gambling app. Okay. Then you get more people, the younger people in. Anyways, Robert Pattinson, not on my 2026 bingo card. To play Chris Hansen. To Catch a Predator. Chris Hansen, To Catch a Predator, significant show of my formative years. I used to cook a plate of taquitos and I would watch To Catch a Predator. I would watch it every day before work with a big plate of taquitos. I never switched it up. Never did the jalapeno poppers, chicken fingers. It was always taquitos, right? That was like my source of protein back then. I would just eat these like greasy, bready, salty taquito. I was like 19 and I would sit there and it was all on YouTube. I would just watch To Catch a Predator and I would just eat the taquitos. I would eat the taquitos and sometimes you'd have sour cream dip and the move was you'd have hot sauce and you would mix and you would just watch To Catch a Predator. Oh, he's in New Jersey this time. It was entertaining. That was the millennial experience largely, was just eating taquitos while watching pedophiles get busted. And that was a fun time, and I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. It's informed me in many ways. I long for a time when I can just eat saturated, gross fats while watching a bunch of saturated, gross fats go to jail. But a really fun time in my early years. To Catch a Predator, you would just sit and if you're unfamiliar with To Catch a Predator, Chris Hansen was the host of this show where he and his team, his journalist team, would pose as underage kids to lure child predators into like a house. And a lot of the time it would be like on the Jersey Shore. It would be like a lot of guys who look like Mike the Situation that would be like, hey, she was fucking 16. I thought she was good to go. It was a lot of guys like that. And it was very fun. And the police would get involved and they would start arresting these guys. And this was prime time television of the highest tier. You couldn't get better than To Catch a Predator. And it was all on YouTube. It was all on YouTube just for you to watch endlessly. We would sometimes have parties, um, where like 12 of us would just sit in the living room and we would all be drunk and we would just watch these. We would just watch these videos. We would have like almost To Catch a Predator marathon nights. Like my dad and his buddies, when they were in the 80s, when they were in their 20s, they would get drunk and smoke weed and watch a bunch of B horror movies, right? Where a guy was like carrying his own head, is like severing people and chopping them up with a machete. And that was what they did. We did something similar, but with predators. We would just watch these guys walk into a house, and it would almost be like a horror movie where, you know how in a horror movie like Drew Bear, like Scream, where it's like, oh, don't go in there, don't go in there, don't go in the next room, he's in there, he's in there. We would do the same thing, but with Predators with Chris Hansen. We would almost be like, don't go in there, don't go in, no, no, man, he's behind the curtain, bro. It was so fun, and just to watch those guys get busted was hilarious. And I long for it. And I'm sad that, I'm sad I can't eat taquitos and do it. This is back when my metabolism was not shot to shit. But yeah, Chris Hansen, that was just too fun. That was just too fun. And this was like, this was like a watershed moment in journalism. It was like a big moment in not just journalism, but TV and then entertainment, because while what he was doing was great, and I'm for what these guys obviously do with the catching these guys or whatever, but you can argue that To Catch a Predator was like at the beginning of the evolutionary chart of like what content is today, where everything is now just gotcha content. Like, let's get this guy to a bus stop and let's get these clicks, let's get these views, let's monetize this. So a lot of the time, not all the time, and again, I'm for what these guys do. I'm it's less about catching bad people and more about we got to get those views and those followers, and we got to let's make some content out of this. And it just seems like it's more like that now than what it originally, I think, was set out to be. And I think this movie is going to talk about that a little bit. That's like kind of part of the discussion. But I find it fucking interesting. I'm going to see the movie. Big TCAP fan. It sucks because I would just sit and just watch like, oh, he's in New Jersey. Oh, and then now, okay, the next because it was always in a different city. Every episode was in a different state, in a different city. So one day he's in California. Okay. Oh, now let's get a taste of the pedophiles in Kentucky. Wrong wording. Let's watch them bust the pedophiles in Kentucky. Right. Let's do that. And it was always just a new guy. Some of these guys would show up and they bring like a full pizza. Remember that one with the guy with the pizza? He would show up to like to meet a 13-year-old with a giant pepperoni pizza box, and he would say, which is like kind of weird for this fucking creep, because like who wants to fuck after that many carbs? I kid, of course, but um, it just a bizarre show, and really like one of the more peculiar moments in culture was if the fact that we were all drawn towards these things. And a lot of these guys have like cult followings now. As reviled as they are, a lot of the predators have like cult followings online where people like follow them. And like one guy started making merch. They're capitalizing off of that, which I think would be an argument for how this has kind of gotten out of hand, where, it started out meaningful and we gotta stop these guys and expose them and catch them. But now it's about, entertainment, I guess. I still think we should do it, I guess. Because I knew guys during the pandemic, I knew friends of mine that were like, we gotta let's start doing this. Let's like lure a guy to the Walmart parking lot and fucking catch him on camera. And I'm like, you don't have a car. What are you taking, the bus? You can't take transit to bust a pedophile. That's like going to a bank robbery and not having a getaway car. Like you need to travel in style. That guy's coming in a Mustang. You know, you gotta think about these things. They're really like, no, let's go hunt these guys. I'm like, with a crossbow, like with a spear. What are you, DiCaprio and the Revenant? What are you talking about? I just want to sit and watch Sopranos. I don't want anything to do with that world. I don't want anything to do. Even if I'm in a thumbnail with one of these guys, even if I'm catching one of them, and I'm in the right, I don't want to be on video with them. I don't want to be seen in the same frame as them. There were reporters in the 1930s who would interview Hitler, and photographers And those guys are all in the same pictures with Hitler now. You're known as just the guy who is 3 feet away from the Fuhrer. So you're reviled because of that. And I feel like that's the same pedophiles and Hitler, same, you know, same grouping, same team, same, No, but it was a lot. But anyway, Robert Pattinson, big fan. Robert Pattinson. By the way, I'm sorry for the sound quality of this microphone. I know you can hear my voice, but it's popping a little bit, and I got to watch my P's. Got to watch the P's. Um, I don't know. Like I gotta buy a new microphone. This one was already expensive enough, but I gotta get a cord. I gotta get a microphone. I don't know what I only have so much money, people. Okay. I got Rogers calling me about my phone bill. They're shutting the lights off. I feel like a Tupac lyric, you know. Um, no, things are going well, but I just got to get this microphone. But Robert Pattinson, huge fan. And if you had told me that the vampire, the monotone emo hot topic wet dream vampire from the Twilight movies, 18, because he was like a punchline for a lot of years. Robert Pattinson was a punchline for several years because of those Twilight movies. Everyone was always talking about he can't act, he doesn't emote, he's just kind of he's within him, he's just all moody, and I'm a teenage vampire. And Kristen Stewart was kind of the same thing, and it was I never saw those movies, but I just remembered that was like the criticism of Twilight was that Robert Pattinson, he's hot, but that there's not much else, right? And if you had told me that Edward from the Twilight series was going to go on this generational run decades from now, where he's doing Batman and and by the way, I love Robert Pattinson. Good Time is a top 20 movie for me. I love it. But it just the idea that he's doing Batman and the Odyssey and the Lighthouse, and he's holding his own against Willem Dafoe, and he's doing all this shit. And now he's playing Chris Hansen. If you had told me that back during the Twilight era, I would have scoffed at you, and I would have kind of laughed, because they're not supposed to do. There's only a few people. He's like Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum was that guy for a long time. Channing Tatum started out in a movie where he was breakdancing. He was like the one white guy who knew how to do the electric boogaloo, and that was his thing. And everyone was like, he's so hot, he can break dance. But everyone thought there's not much else. And now he's doing movies like The Hateful Eight, and he's playing like a bank robber who is like who with a soul, and and I think he's a good actor, but there's only a few people like that now. I think they tried the same thing with Zac Efron. It didn't quite work. Didn't quite work the way they wanted it to. Um, but I'm excited to see the primetime movie, and Robert Pattinson. He's like probably the defining actor of this decade. They'll probably look back and say, because just all the shit that he did, and he's so versatile, and he knows how to do all the stuff. There's like Chalamet and a couple other people, but the Pattinson, he's good. This Pattinson kid, he's coming up. He's coming up. Have a little diarrhea sip there. But I do have an idea for this primetime movie. Because again, remember how I said that a lot of these these predators, because of the impact that show had, a lot of them have become celebrities in their own right. They have like these cult followings. A lot of the predators have like these cult followings online. And I think you got to get a couple celebrity cameos to play some of these guys. They got the one guy, the Tony Ravioli guy from the trailer, but I want a couple other guys. Like there was a predator who's like probably the most famous. His name is Lorne Armstrong, and again, I watched it so much, and it's so satisfying to see these fuckers go down that I just know the guy's name. But he's known as the Crying Predator, and Lorne Armstrong. I'm going to show a picture. He shares a resemblance to Tom Hardy. Okay. If Tom Hardy, he has the same kind of build. If Tom Hardy cut for a month, he would look like Lorne Armstrong. And you can see it. I'm going to show pictures of both of them, both of these gentlemen. And there is a resemblance between the two. Okay. If we just got Tom Hardy, he might win that Oscar. Okay. He couldn't for The Revenant. And I loved him in The Revenant. Turns out Gal was a squirrel. Said the N-word a little too much for my liking in that. but still an amazing performance. And I think that if he did Lauren, I think this is his Oscar moment. I think this is his Oscar moment where he can really do it. Lauren Armstrong, played by Tom Hardy, and then a couple other of these guys. If you got any other ideas, write them in the comments. I don't know. I want to thank everybody who's listening who wished me a happy birthday on Thursday. By the way, before we end this, I love you, love some of you guys. You guys are fucking cool. Some of you are a little freaky. Some of you are little Chris Hansen-y, if you will. Fuck, I it was cool turning 35, and then just I watched like Obsession. I got Obsession on Blu-ray for my birthday, which was kind of neat. Which like I watched after a couple of beers, and good movie, man, good movie. I make fun of that guy Curry Barker, but I think he's great. I think he's kind of cool. Um, I have googly eyes like him, so I can kind of make fun of that. I got some weird eyes. The one thing about Obsession that I critique is that if the roles were reversed and if it was about a woman who wanted a man, she wouldn't have to do anything. She wouldn't have to make a wish. She'd just have to fucking ask the guy, "Hey, do you want to sleep with me? Do you want to go out? Do you want to have sex every night?" And he, again, we're such starved, sex depraved fucks. We'd say, "Yeah, yeah. Can I bring my Zyn?" Between rounds, can I just watch a video about killing kitten? Like that would be the thing among Gen Z. Yeah, of course, yeah. It wouldn't, that would be not a horror movie. It wouldn't be a feature film. That would be a YouTube short. That would be a YouTube short. That girl could have half her face missing from a car fire where her Mazda did 3 flips down a hill after going over a dangerous corner on a secluded country road, right? She could have had half her face burnt off, and we still would have been like, so when? Like when do you want, when do you want me over? When can I come? You know? That movie, if that's a woman, that movie is not called Obsession, that movie's called Horny. And it is a YouTube short. Mark my words. I would have loved if Chris Hansen just kept going with the To Catch a Predator stuff, man. If he just kept, because they had to shut the show off after a while. They had to cancel it because somebody commits suicide and they got a bunch of lawsuits up the ass. And but I wish that he went abroad. I wanted to see To Catch a Predator France. I wanted to see To Catch a Predator Turkey. To Catch a Predator India would have been monumental. Monumental. Top tier television. They would have had a field day To Catch a Predator India. And I'm not saying this because I'm not saying that Indian people are, but I'm saying because there's so many people, there's over 1 billion people. They would have got statistically, they would have gotten like they would have had to turn people. The cops would have had to be like, okay, guys, there's too many of you. Seriously, no, you're bringing too much heat. Let's come back tomorrow, okay, guys. Seriously, they would have. Okay, really, guys, come on. Like they would have had to just turn them all away. To Catch a Predator Australia would have been awful. She said she was 18. Her name on the internet was Kangaroo Lover. She was Roo Lover 89. I thought she was ripe. No, thought that would have been cool. Something's Off with Alex DeWitt. Dark it is.